Welcome to the Real Estate Investing Club. This is the place everyday real estate investors gather to share their best stories, biggest insights, and favorite tactics to grow a portfolio of cash flowing properties in today's market. Here's your host, Gabe Peterson.
All right, we're back with another episode of the Real Estate Investing Club. Today we have Jeff Copeland with us from Copeland Morgan LLC. Jeff is a Florida investor and broker owner at Copeland Morgan LLC. He is also a property manager with over 320 rental units in the Tampa Bay area. We all know Florida is popping off these days. So Jeff, I'm sure you got a lot of interest down there in Florida. Thanks for hopping on the show.
Hey, Gabriel, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I told you before we got on here, we like stories. We like to hear how people kind of got started on the path of real estate. I'm sure you got a good one. So why don't you take us to the beginning? How'd you get started in real estate?
Yeah, well, funny enough, I got started in real estate by way of a wedding and photography business. So
oh, nice.
I know it sounds like a crazy story, but I was in the military previously. I was in the Coast Guard, and we left active duty and moved back to Florida. I transitioned into the reserves, and I was working in county government, totally unrelated to real estate. I was in the emergency management field, and wow. My wife is a photographer. She does portraits and weddings, and eventually, people would ask us, "Oh, do you do like wedding ceremonies?" And my answer was always, "Well, yeah, we do now." And then they would ask us, "We do chairs, arches, music?" Yeah, we do now.
Let's do it.
We gradually built up this pretty sizable, destination wedding business where people would come to Florida and get married on the beach. And after a few years, it just got to be too much. And I was busy in my, full-time career. My wife couldn't handle it on her own. And so we decided to sell that business. Mm-hmm. And so that was kind of our stepping off point. We had, not a ton of money, but we had a little bit of capital from the sale of the business. And the timing was right to kind of jump into real estate. Like many people, we bought a house to flip. We flipped it. It went well. And, long story short, a career in real estate as a broker, property manager, and investor sort of ensued in the years to follow.
Wow, man. So from the military to weddings to real estate, that is one thing about people in real estate. That's never a linear path. So yours is no exception there.
I don't know if you see this a lot too, but I see that there's a lot of sort of serial entrepreneurs in real estate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I used to own another business. I sold that business, and then I did that and I sold it. And then I got into real estate. Yeah. And real estate tends to be a little more sticky because it's a longer term game.
Yep. Yeah. I got started in e-commerce, actually trying to make my own business. So I think that's pretty true. Pretty cool though, that you landed here. It's great to have another good person in real estate field. Sounds like you started with flips, which is, a lot of people get started there. How did you go? Not many people get started in investing and then become a real estate agent. A lot of times they'll start as an agent and then get into investing. Why did you decide to pick up a license?
Yeah, great question. As an investor, and at the time I was flipping houses. If you consider that a true investor, I know there's an argument there to be made there. But here in Florida, everybody has a real estate license. Our board of realtors, I think there's something like 6,000 licensed agents in this county, and the board, which covers multiple county, has something like 10,000 licensees. So everybody I know has a real estate license. And so what was happening when I was looking to get into a house to flip it? You need the super key access to go in and view the property. And I was getting my friends to help, but there are times when, hey, I need to get in there this morning and get an offer on the table this afternoon.
Yep.
And I got to the point where the volume was such that I couldn't keep asking my friends to do that as real estate agents, even though they might earn a commission. They couldn't, follow me all over town looking at properties. And there's a significant competitive advantage to having your real estate license. If I'm looking for a property, it pops up on the MLS at 8 a.m. I can be there at 8:15 inside looking at it and have an offer on somebody's desk by 9, whereas my competitors may be calling their real estate agent and meeting them at lunchtime. So, hours matter sometimes in a hot market. And that's really what led me to get my own license. And then kind of two things happened. In flipping houses, eventually we had a house that didn't sell for whatever reason. So we decided to keep it. We kept it for a couple of years as a rental. It was great. And that sort of led to more and more rentals. And then on the other side, helping investors buy properties, they would ask me, do you do property management? And of course, going back to my wedding days, my answer was
yes,
always, we do now. And so that led to, growth in my sort of book of business. I got my broker's license so I could really dive off into property management. And as you mentioned today, we manage over 300 units. We work predominantly with investors on the buy side, helping them acquire properties. And then in 90% of cases, we help them do so with an eye towards managing it after closing and helping them kind of reposition the asset.
Turnkey. Love it. I've thought and people have come to me and suggested that I get my license. I still don't have it after so many years. And I would do it just to have access to the data. Just being able to get on that MLS, I feel like is worth it in and of itself. If I didn't hate taking tests that much, then I'd probably do it. But one of these days I'll get on that.
I do understand both sides to the story. You certainly don't have to have your license, but for me, it was a significant competitive advantage. And what kept happening is I would run into limitations on what I could get done without my license. And for a couple of years, I had it set up through our MLS with my friend who's a realtor, where I was his unlicensed assistant. So I had MLS access before I was licensed. I could go in and do the research and pull the comps and all that kind of stuff. But what I couldn't do was go and open those electronic lock boxes and show properties to other people and things like that, because that's the practice of real estate. You need to have a license. And so, every time I took that next step, eventually I would start running into some limits, and which led to me getting my real estate license. And then for the same reasons, my broker's license.
Yep. That makes sense. So since then, I mean, you've had your fingers in pretty much everything. Your property management, brokerages, you're flipping properties. Of all of the types of business models, and this is one of the reasons I love real estate so much, is that there are so many ways to do it. Doesn't matter what your personality is. If you have an inclination towards real estate, you can find a business model that fits your personality. Sure. So of all the different business models that you've run in real estate, which one is the one that you enjoy the most?
That's a really tough question. I do definitely enjoy flipping houses, but I'll be honest, I have not flipped a house in several years. The market being what it is, and just where I'm at in my investing career, I tend to buy it, fix it up, and keep it more likely than selling it. But I do love that challenge of repositioning the asset, whether it's a single family home or whether it's a 15-unit apartment building. As you go in on the buy side, it's kind of like, well, right now it's this, it's a C.
It's a turd, but I'm gonna make that.
But here are the steps that we have to take over the next couple of years to get it up to a B or a B plus. And that then at the end of that process, it gives you so many options. You can refinance, you can sell, you can keep that extra cash flow. It just, all good things stem from just improving the cash flow of the property and repositioning that asset. Now you've got multiple exit strategies or multiple, keep it strategies.
Yep. I love it. So on the property management side, that's something that a lot of people, when they're outside of investing, they don't have any experience yet, and they buy their first property. That's the thing that usually opens most people's eyes, is having to manage a property, deal with all the issues that arise. So what are kind of the first big lessons that you learned once you open your property management side of the business? What are the things that you kind of feel most investors overlook, or most investors should really consider before they hop into their first long-term hold?
Yeah. And I'll preface this by saying I actually encourage people to manage their first few properties, because until you've done it and you realize how much work it is, you will never have a real appreciation for why it's a good investment to pay your property manager 8 or 10% of your rent. But I think the underlying theme in property management is you have to know a lot of stuff about a lot of stuff, whether it's, renovations, setting market rent, advertising, marketing, photography, legal stuff, evictions, Privacy Act, tenant screenings, credit reports. I could go on and on and on with all of these things you have to know about or learn about or pay somebody to do for you. And I think once you hit a certain scale, be whatever that scale is for you, it might be 5 properties, it might be 10 properties, it might be 20 properties. But at some point, you're better off letting somebody else run the day to day so that you can focus on the strategic, growing your portfolio, getting more rentals, refinancing, doing your accounting, whatever it is that's your bread and butter. That's what you should be doing, not, handling maintenance calls from tenants or working with an attorney to, evict a deadbeat tenant. There are professionals out there that'll do that for you, and it frees you up to focus on your core business.
Yep, absolutely. I do agree that it is good experience, especially when you're just getting started, to get that management under your belt. I know, when I got started, I just so many stories. People stop paying and just having to deal with all the issues that arise. And having that under your belt really gives you the appreciation once you do hire that third-party property management company to come out and take that over for you. It gives you the appreciation for the work they're doing, because it's God's work, man. It's tough. So we appreciate that for sure.
And the irony is that the better you are at it, and really what I mean by that is the better systems and processes and procedures you have in place, the easier it looks. But the truth is, it's taken many, many years and much, much pain and blood and sweat and tears to build out these systems. And there's no real secret to it. You could do that too, but do you really want to be a property manager, or do you want to be a real estate investor, or whatever your cup of tea is? I say focus on that and let a professional handle the management of your properties.
Yep. Second that one. Let's talk a bit about Florida. That is a hot market these days. We're in almost July, so it's hot both literally and figuratively.
I was just going to say that the heat index has been like above 100 for the last week or so, and the real estate market has been red hot for the past couple of years. This
is going to be our soundbite right here.
Yeah.
Florida, what market are you? What specific market are you in out there? You said Tampa Bay, right?
Tampa Bay. Yeah. We're located in St. Petersburg, which is one of the anchor cities in the Tampa Bay market. Tampa, St. Petersburg, and Clearwater being the big three. But yeah, we cover St. Pete, Clearwater, and Tampa, which is collectively referred to as the Tampa Bay area. Yep.
And I know, everybody on this podcast, at the end of the show, I'll ask you too, what markets are you most excited about? I swear to God, it's like 80-90% of the people that come on here say Florida. They all, want to put their money in Florida. They want to see it grow out there. So what's something that somebody from out of state, Washington is where I'm from. What's something that I should know if I wanted to consider investing in Florida?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I wish I knew all the secrets, but what we're seeing here on kind of the bleeding edge of the sword is, prior to COVID, we were at a peak in the market, and we were all looking around and saying, well, yeah, let's cool our jets. Let's be conservative. This has got to be close to the peak. And then COVID happened. And for a month or two, we were all in a panic, like, oh my God, hoard cash, don't do anything. And then all of a sudden people realized, if you can work from home now, you don't have to shovel snow in Chicago, and you don't have to pay for a flat in Midtown Manhattan. And where do you want to live? And they started looking around the country for nice weather, nice beaches, reasonable housing prices, et cetera, et cetera. And inevitably, many of those people have landed on the Tampa Bay area. So we have just seen a population boom here, which is what's driving the housing market. If you're coming from out of state, I think my one caution would be, you're competing against a lot of cash buyers here. It's really, really hard, in many cases impossible, to buy something with financing, because there are people who are selling their properties in California, New York, and other high-priced markets. They're sitting on $1 million cash, and they've got to do a 1031 exchange in the next 60 days. And they will just plonk down $1 million and buy an investment property here. And you might be the best buyer in the world, the most qualified, the best lender, and you're putting 50% down, but you still can't compete with cash. And that's a problem that we're seeing over and over again.
Yeah, that makes sense. I just pulled up best places for everybody kind of new out there investing. If you're looking to find whether a metro is a good metro to invest in, check out bestplaces.net. It's a good kind of just easy indicator of how the metro is performing. But I've just pulled Tampa up in there, and it looks like since 2020, you guys have grown 10.4%. Holy moly, that's a lot.
I don't know if that's population growth or
that's population, yeah.
But interestingly, what that has driven is price gains year over year. Real estate average prices of 20 to 30% for the last 2 years. And so if you bought something in 2020, it's almost, 50 to 75%, gone up in price, 30% year one, and then another 30% on top of that in year two.
Yeah. And it looks like it still has room to grow. It's only at 300,000 for the median home price.
I believe it's a little higher than that now based on the latest, metrics from our boards of realtors. But yeah, compared to your New York, your LA, and many other high priced metros around the country, our median and average price points are still relatively low. 350 to 400, I think is the current range for a single family home.
Yeah. Seattle up here, I think it's here, I just pulled it up, 851,000. We got
right. So even with all of that growth, we're still half of what it cost to buy in Seattle or San Francisco.
Yep. So still room to grow, which means there's still opportunity out there.
Yeah. And I spoke to someone a few months ago and they mentioned this study somewhere or some paper, and I've never been able to find it. But apparently someone wrote this paper that said Florida is on a very similar trajectory to what California was back in the 80s and 90s. And at first I was like, no way, we're never going to see that kind of craziness. But here, sitting here a couple of years down the road from COVID, I can certainly see all of these factors that are putting pressure on real estate prices, and the big one being population growth. There are more people moving here who are demanding more houses and homes and apartments than physically exist. So until supply outpaces demand, prices are not going to go down. That's just economics 101. Sure, there are some factors putting downward pressure, interest rates, inflation, and things like that. Hurricanes. But there are more factors putting upward pressure on real estate prices, and that's what we're still seeing.
Yep, that makes sense. Hurricanes, that is the big reason why I actually had a really good deal come my way in New Orleans, in Louisiana. But I was just like, no, I can't do it. They're in a flood. The whole city is a flood zone. It's like that they get hit by hurricanes every year. I feel like that's the one thing that would keep me from those states, is just the danger of hurricane damage and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's certainly a factor to consider. There are ways you can mitigate that risk. You can insure most of that risk. But it's certainly something to consider, especially if you're comparing, us to other markets.
Yep. All right. Well, I just took a peek at the clock. We did go through our time, so I got to push us into the quick question round. Are you ready?
Ready as I'll ever be.
Let's do it. It starts with books. I'm a big bookie, so if you could point to one book or any form of education, give me two recommendations, one for general life wisdom and one for business or real estate specific.
Yeah, I get asked this a lot on podcasts and things. And in the back of my mind, I'm always saying, don't say rich dad, poor dad. Don't say rich dad, poor dad, because it's so cliche. Everybody says it. But I will admit it was a shift, a mind shifting book to get you to thinking it from the employee mindset that we were all taught in elementary school, high school, college, to this business owner and investor mindset, which you have to have as a real estate investor. Now, I will say I'm not a huge fan of the Kiyosaki empire and the $30,000 courses that they do and things like that, but I am still a fan of the book. And if you're brand new to real estate investing, pick up Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It is one of the pillars of real estate investing books. On the other side, management wise, I really like a book by Jim Collins. It's called Good to Great. And as the title implies, it's like, you can be good. Lots of people are good, but how do you get to great? And there's some really interesting strategies and tactics in there about how do you take whatever it is that you're doing from good to that next level.
Yep. Both great recommendations. And you're totally right. Rich Dad, Poor Dad has been said, I don't know how many times on this podcast, but things become cliche for a reason. It's because he did have a lot of influence. And that was the book myself that got me interested in real estate. And it's not because he has very, specific knowledge that he gives, but it's just the framework that the book kind of gives you. It's pretty paradigm shifting. It helps you understand why real estate is such a good direction to go.
Yeah. And I think it helps you too to realize why wealthy people do what wealthy people do. The idea of taking your income, paying your expenses, and then paying your taxes, as opposed to working a W-2 and having all your taxes come out of your income. Just little nuggets like that kind of help you shift that paradigm from the employee mindset to more of a business owner and investor mindset.
Yep. That moves us to the next question. This is for your younger self. So if you could go back to the Jeff who had no experience in real estate, say you were just getting started in the military, your wife was just getting started with her wedding business, go back to that Jeff, look him in the eye, give him one piece of advice moving forward.
Yeah, well, one of the downsides of being in real estate in the same market for a number of years is you end up driving around town and you're like, oh man, why didn't I buy that property 10 years ago when it was, when it was, $50,000 or, $1 million less or whatever. So I think for anybody out there who, if you haven't bought your first investment property, if you're thinking about it, about dipping your toe, just get started. The sooner you get started, time covers up a lot of mistakes. Time heals all wounds, because with time comes appreciation. And if you're a long-term buy and hold investor, you don't have to worry so much about the market dips. You're not going to sell during the dip. So just get something under your belt, get a property, get started. Once you tackle that first one, you realize, wow, that wasn't so hard. That wasn't so scary. And this is kind of addictive. Let's go look for the next one.
I love it. All right. My next question. This is for, let's see. I lost my spot. I do this every time. All right. There it is. United States, it's a big place. There's a lot of opportunity out there to invest. So if you could choose one market that is not your backyard, it's not Tampa Bay, what is one market you are most excited about investing?
Before we continue on with today's guest, I want to tell you guys about a community I'm launching on School to help investors like yourself grow your own portfolio. In this community, you'll get access to all the docs I use, all the systems I've built, everything I've used to grow my own portfolio, as well as instructions and guidance on how to get out there and find great deals, how to finance those deals, and then how to manage them for great returns. Since we're just launching it, the price will be set at a measly $20 per month, and whatever price you join at is the price you'll have for life. We will be increasing the price as the group grows, so if you're at all interested in growing your portfolio along other investors, now is the time to join. I will put the link somewhere in the bio or on our podcast website at therealestateinvestingclub.com, so if you are interested, head on over there. With that said, let's get back to the podcast.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm going to keep it somewhat localized to Florida because that's what I know. We talked about how the Tampa Bay area has been booming. On the opposite coast of Florida, what they call the Space Coast over by Cape Canaveral and the Kennedy Space Center. There's some really nice, beachfront, towns from Cocoa Beach, north and south, that I think have still been a little bit sort of underlooked. They don't have the name recognition of your Tampa Bay, but they do have a lot of the same features that attract people to the Tampa Bay area. So we haven't gone since COVID, but we used to go to Cocoa Beach like once or twice a year because you can actually surf over there. There's waves, and we would stay at this place on the beach. And I've always said I would love to buy like a little duplex or something over here on the East Coast. It's only about 4 hours from us. And so that's still in the back of my mind. I've got some projects going on here locally, but I would say, hey, check out that sort of Space Coast area because it's a really nice area. It's got a lot of things going for it, and it's got a lot of similar features to Tampa Bay, but the prices haven't shot up quite as much yet.
Perfect. I love it. Next question is your Superman strength. We are all gifted with something that we specifically offer this world. So what is it that is your Superman strength? What are you exceptional at?
Well, I like to simplify things. And I know if you're a new investor, where a lot of people get stuck is that analysis phase, and everybody refers to it as analysis paralysis.
So easy to get stuck there.
Yeah. And I joke that I'm on a mission to cure analysis paralysis. What can we do to cure it, to make it go away? And what I've tried to do is boil down the process of analyzing a potential investment property into like 5 simple formulas. And so I have a page on our website. You can find it by going to 5simpleformulas.com that just talks about some of the key metrics. And it sort of demystifies it. And, one of the things I talk about is this is elementary school math. It's multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. Your fourth grader could analyze a rental property. So get over that fear and just learn that, you have to collect the right data, the right input. But the math itself is easy, and you just got to get over that fear, that analysis paralysis.
Yep, I love that. So that website was 5simpleformulas.com, correct?
Yeah, I believe you spell out FIVE, 5simpleformulas.com. You can also go to our website. It's copelandmorgan.com, and there's a link there for the 5 Simple Formulas.
All right, perfect. I'll make sure that gets in the show notes. So if you all want to jump on that website, the Simple Formulas, it does just come down to formulas. You just got to get the numbers in there. So I'm sure that's super useful. Make sure to check that out if you're so inclined. And that leads us to the second to last question. This is tools. Software tools are super important when it comes to running a business. So what tool is your number one tool you use on the regular?
Number one, as a property manager, is absolutely our property management software. We use Buildium. There are three big ones: Buildium, AppFolio, and
AppFolio.
And what's the other one? Oh, Propertyware. I'm less familiar with the other two, but literally everything I do as a property owner, as a landlord, and everything that I do as an investor, from listing properties to taking applications to doing tenant screenings to collecting rent to doing the accounting, that all flows through our property management software. Myself and my staff are literally logged into Buildium all day long. So that's definitely sort of the core of our business model on the property management side. You may not need that as a lone wolf or an individual investor just managing your own properties, but having some kind of software in place is definitely a good idea. And also understanding, if you're going to hire a property manager, ask them what software they use, because if they tell you Microsoft Excel, run. Not that Excel is a bad program, but it's so limited compared to what these professional property management softwares can do.
Yep, that's funny. I actually I started my property management for my own properties in Excel, and it wasn't.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that if you've got a handful of properties. But if you're talking to a property manager who's managing hundreds of units in Microsoft Excel, they're not taking advantage of the technological tools that have been out there for a good decade now.
Yep. But yeah, we use AppFolio. That's a good one. I've heard Buildium's pretty good too. So good recommendation. And that leads us to the very last question. You've already kind of touched on this, but I'm going to ask it anyways. What is the best way for people to reach out and get in contact with you?
Yeah, definitely our website, copelandmorgan.com. You'll find tons of educational resources, not just salesy stuff. You can look and check out our team. You can check out some of our educational stuff, our podcasts, and other resources. And then we do have a secondary website, which also has some educational stuff specific to multifamily. It's called themultifamilyguy.com. And they're very similar. Either one of those websites, you can find me, and you can find tons of educational resources, including our podcast.
All right, perfect. We will throw those in the show notes. So if y'all want to reach out and get in contact with Jeff, or get your hands on those resources, we'll definitely put those down there. Just click a little more in the description. It'll pull down the full description, and there you can find the URLs. So Jeff, that wraps it up. Thank you very much. I've appreciated you jumping on the show with us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And for everybody who's here with us today, thank you guys for showing up. You are the reason we do this. So if you guys have any questions whatsoever, reach out to me, Gabe at therealestateinvestingclub.com. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great week. Keep rocking real estate, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Real Estate Investing Club. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode and were able to pull some actionable advice that you can go home with and apply to your own investing business. Before you go, I have a gift for you. If you're a new investor looking to get started, or an established investor looking to take your business to the next level, I've created an ebook just for you, available on the website. This ebook will cover how I was able to create both active and passive income in real estate with very little money to start with. In it, I will address the 3 most often cited obstacles new and veteran investors run into by showing you how to find a deal that's actually a deal, how to finance that deal with little to no money down, and how to exit a deal for maximum value. And if you get the ebook today, I'm going to bury you in bonuses, 7 of them to be exact. The First, you'll get the off-market lead generation blueprint, which will take you through the exact systems and processes we use to generate off-market leads like clockwork, which is the most important skill when it comes to creating real wealth in real estate. Then you'll get the A to Z REI systems and vendors guide, which will allow you to peek under the hood of our business and see the exact tools and systems and even the vendors we use to grow our business. After that, you will get the top 100 best performing keywords pack, which will give you the exact keywords we use to target leads online and generate leads without having to lift a finger. Next, you'll get the contracts bundle for wholesaling and renting real estate, which will give you access to all of the contracts we use in the field to execute all types of transactions. After that, you'll get the Investor's Quick Analysis Calculator and Offer Tool, which will allow you to quickly calculate whether a deal is an actual deal and will allow you to create an offer automatically from those calculations. Next up, we'll give you the Investor's Daily Success Tracker, which is a tracker you can use to ensure you are taking the right actions day in and day out to reach your financial goals in real estate. And finally, you will get the Wholesaler's Template for Quick Assignment Cash, which will give you the templates we use to present our wholesale deals professionally and efficiently to our buyers. I know that is a ton of things to say. I'm glad you were able to stick with it. So you'll get both the ebook and all of those 7 free bonuses when you download the ebook today. All we charge is the admin cost to run the show. So if you are interested in the ebook and the bonus bundle, head on over to the website at therealestateinvestingclub.com. Click on Get the Ebook Bundle at the top of the page and take advantage of that deal. With that housekeeping item covered, I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day and even better week. Keep rocking real estate, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. All right, before I officially sign off, I have a quick announcement to make. If you're interested in becoming a passive investor in one of my deals, my own company, Kaizen Properties, is looking for capital partners for our upcoming projects. We invest in what are known as recession-resistant assets, mainly self-storage facilities, mobile home and RV parks, and industrial properties. If you're interested in investing and would like to learn a little bit more about my company, our investing criteria, and some of the previous projects we've done, go to the Real Estate Investing Club podcast at therealestateinvestingclub.com and scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page. Click on the Invest With Us button. That'll pop up the investor form. Fill that out, and we will reach back out to you as soon as we can. Or if you prefer a little bit more of a personal touch, you can reach out to me at gabe@therealestateinvestingclub.com. So really, that is it. Again, it was a pleasure hanging out with you guys during this episode, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.